Friday episode of lcpioneers.com Live, presented by PioStream. We broadcast 4 days a week, Tuesday through Friday at 11:30, live on Facebook Live and available on demand, youtube.com/lcpios, keeping the Lewis and Clark athletics community connected to students, athletes, coaches, members of the Lewis and Clark community at large, as well as those who have gone through Lewis and Clark, our alumni, making appearances as, again, a 4 day a week show to try to keep us together over the summer months. Hi, everyone. I am Ryan Goff. I am the play-by-play voice and director of athletic communications for Lewis and Clark, the Pioneers, based out of Portland, Oregon, competing in the Northwest Conference against other institutions from throughout Northwest Oregon and the state of Washington, a member of NCAA Division III, which with over 430 institutions nationwide, opportunities for our student athletes to compete on a national level while also getting an experiential liberal arts education at Lewis and Clark. We certainly invite you to keep connected with us and ask questions, even suggest future guests too. You can do so by going to our Instagram and Twitter, LC Pioneers, commenting in the Facebook Live comments as well, plus sports at lclark.edu. In a few moments, we'll bring in our guest for today, rising sophomore for Lewis and Clark cross country and track and field. Owen Deffner will join us. Really accomplished in his first year with the program, and one of the big reasons the Pioneers rose from a last place finish at the 2018 conference championships to a third place finish in 2019, a huge improvement, and he was a big reason why. We'll talk to him about his first year at Lewis and Clark and some of the things that he learned. I do want to bring you to our website, lcpioneers.com, as just yesterday announced the removal of the interim tag for Mark Petrock, who's been with Lewis and Clark Athletics since 1989. He is now our permanent director of physical education and athletics. I am so excited to have the opportunity to work with Petey on a permanent basis. He's had 2 stints as the interim director of athletics, and his most recent one has lasted since April 2019 until earlier this week when our vice president of student life, Robin Holmes Sullivan, elevated him to the permanent position. So looking forward to working with Mark Petrock as he helps shape the way that all of our 19 intercollegiate sports teams, move forward and go into next year, hopefully with as normal of a timetable as possible, given the coronavirus pandemic. Hopefully, all of our teams are on campus and competing and learning as quickly as possible. So, congratulations to Petey, and that information at lcpioneers.com. Certainly do hope you'll check it out. Also, connect with us on our social media channels. You can do so, as I mentioned, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube primarily is where you can find us, most of those at LC Pioneers. Let's bring in our guest for today, rising sophomore out of Vermont. He is a dual sport athlete competing for cross country and track and field. We welcome in Owen Deffner to the show on lcpioneers.com. Owen, appreciate you taking the time to join us and spend some of your Friday with us. We're now at this point, almost a month removed from just the end of the spring semester and finishing up finals. As you had to leave campus, go remote and finish your freshman year off campus, what were some of the biggest challenges and some of the things that came out of that helped you learn?
Well, first, thanks for having me on, Ryan. Biggest challenges definitely of the whole going remote thing was just I have struggled technologically for a long time, so having to improve my technology skills as well as just not being in a physical classroom and having to motivate myself to go to class, as it were, every day. It was definitely a challenge, but definitely got through that, and happy to be in summer and training hard and having a good time here in Vermont.
And you look at that first year for your team. It was a team that, my understanding, at the postseason awards for the team, you bring home 2 pieces of hardware. What did you learn about your first year experience and some of the highlights as it sits with you reflecting on it now? I mean, we're almost half a year removed from last October, November.
Yeah, it was a great honor to receive those awards from Coach Burrow. But some of the highlights would definitely be being part of that team that went from last to third in the conference. That was definitely something I was very proud of, that we turned the program around so fast and that we're looking to improve it even more in the coming year and years after that. But I had a lot of fun in the fall. I guess this was collegiate sports. You spend a lot more time with your teammates than I did in high school. And so that was really great to get to know my teammates and have them become friends and, people who helped me transition to college and make that transition so much smoother. So that was definitely a big highlight and something I'm very grateful to them for in the fall.
Yeah, looking at the Instagram post, LC Pio's XCTF, most valuable rookie of the year, and some of the things that Coach Bro, highlighted that goes into those awards for yourself, doing the things expected before they're expected, and being someone in the program that we're able to build around. And I look at some of the impact that guys like, Sean and Miguel had on your program, and that torch that you can likely carry into next year. What did you learn from some of the upperclassmen or some of the more experienced people on your team, especially given, Sean's huge successful season, Sean Richardson moving to fourth all time, at Lewis and Clark?
Yeah, it was, well, Sean and Miguel were both huge inspirations for me, I guess. Seeing Sean improve year after year over his 4 years to that point where he went to nationals in cross country and had a chance to in track was really cool to watch, and something that I think I can take with me and set that as a goal for the future and for my future on this team. And then we all trained together, but I did a lot of my winter running with Sean, which was really fun. And then in the fall, Miguel and I sort of had a little bit of a rivalry for who was going to have that third spot on the team. And so that was definitely something that really drove me to improve every day in practice. And it was a really fun, exciting part of going to practice every day and running with somebody who I wanted to improve, but I also wanted to beat in sort of a fun way. I think we definitely pushed each other, which was really great from the middle towards the end of the season.
Owen Deffner joining us on lcpioneers.com live, rising sophomore for both cross country and track and field. And you're out of Vermont. How did you discover Lewis and Clark, and maybe even just initial reactions, to your arrival on campus, arrival to the Pacific Northwest for college? What stood out to you?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to travel somewhere farther away for college to see a different part of the country. And one of my teachers in high school had a few suggestions for some schools that were outdoor oriented in the West that might be a good fit for me. And Lewis and Clark was one of them. And I visited last spring and was really just mesmerized by the beauty of the campus and all it had to offer. And then I guess first impressions coming in, the fall was just a beautiful time of year, and it seemed like every day was just fantastic weather, and it was so fun to be in that sort of setting. And the Pacific Northwest is such a cool area that I felt really blessed to be able to explore that through running in the fall, which is a really great way to introduce me to Portland and Oregon and the whole Pacific Northwest.
So how do you keep yourself then, training in the midst too of a pandemic over the summer? Kind of what's the workout plan look like, maybe in the most ideal sense, and then have there been any adjustments you've had to make?
Yeah, I guess the ideal sense, I was injured from late November through really to mid March. So coming home, I kind of eased into a spring block of training, which was really just low intensity, just easy runs most days. And I ended up getting really a lot fitter than I expected to be during that period. And so entering the summer, I actually had quite a bit higher expectations for myself than I thought I would at that point. And so now I guess I'm like surprised where I am fitness wise, and which is great. I'm really happy with where I am. So trying to like keep the momentum of being healthy and being excited to train every day through to the fall or even farther is going to be the challenge. So what I've been trying to do is mix it up and go to some new places to run, do some runs that typically wouldn't be part of summer training. A lot of trail running up in the Green Mountains, I think, is going to be in my future. So I'm really excited about that. And I guess the pandemic, we don't know if we'll be racing in the fall. So, but we got to be in shape no matter what. So it's a great opportunity to kind of be training hard, but also have a lower expectations for how fit we need to be. So I guess I feel pretty loose right now as far as where I want to be in August, which I think is good. I think that lack of pressure is gonna help me to succeed in the long term.
And you mentioned some places in your home state, or at least specifically the New England area, chances to run outdoors and some of the places. I would like you to describe kind of the areas that you have and how that's, conducive to training for distance racing, but also too, why Portland is such a great place for that too. Some of the places that Coach Burrow and your team were able to explore, kind of maybe a compare and contrast almost between where you grew up and then now that you're in Portland competing for the Pioneers, the running spaces that are available.
Yeah, I would say I think Vermont has. I'm a little biased, but I think Vermont has Portland beat as far as training opportunities go. But from my house, there's actually quite a few trails similar to Tryon, which is about half a mile away from campus at LC. So there's about 30 miles of trails within half a mile of my house, which is great just for like a regular run to walk out my door and have these beautiful trails right by my house. But then also I was running yesterday out on a road that's sort of like Leif Erikson Drive out in Forest Park, in that it's pretty flat. There are very few cars on it. So stuff like that where you can speed it up um, and really go hard without like having to deal with the hills of Vermont. But also then we have a great system of dirt roads and old logging roads, which are just really hilly and can get some great training in there. So I'm really blessed where I live to have great opportunities to explore nature and get out for some great runs. And I would say Portland has similar opportunities. I would say they're just like, it's in a city, obviously, so it's a little different. One of my favorite places to run this winter was down along the Willamette, along the Springwater Corridor, and then the Willamette Greenway, which were really like different from types of running I do at home. So that was a really fun place to train, and yeah, I had a lot of fun going down there a couple times a week.
You're watching lcpioneers.com live 4 days a week to keep you connected with student athletes and more on Facebook Live, archived at youtube.com/lcpios. Our guest is Owen Deffner, rising sophomore for cross country and track and field. And we've kind of recapped your first year. We talked about your summer plans. Let's look ahead now to what's ahead for you. Sean and Miguel no longer with the team as graduates. What's your sophomore season like, kind of the outlook for cross country, and then feel free to kind of elaborate too to track and field.
Yeah, I think well, I think we're going to have a really competitive team again this coming fall. We've got about 12 new freshmen coming in, which is really exciting. And some of them, and many of them are very, very talented runners. So I think we're not replacing like a national qualifier and an all conference guy, Miguel and Sean, but we definitely are like sowing the seeds to become a really great program with such a huge freshman class. So I think I'm really excited to have such a big team and such a competitive team coming in. So I think that's going to be really great in the fall and in track. And I guess individually, I would like Coach and I have been talking about it, looking towards maybe top 10, top 5 in the conference for cross country. And then I haven't really looked as far as spring track, but the goal there will be to run some fast steeplechase times and some fast 5K times and score some points at conference for the track team in the spring.
All right, you got to tell me about vegetable farming because it sounds like your summer is training and also the vegetable farming aspect. Why is that something that keeps you busy and is a passion of yours?
Could you repeat that last part? Sorry.
Just why is that something that you're passionate about, doing the
Oh yeah,
vegetable farming work?
yeah. I would say so. I've been working on a farm for 4 years now. It's on the other side of town, and I typically bike to it every day, and then come home and go for a run. So that's like my daily schedule, I guess, in the summer. But I guess I really fell in love with the farm and just working hard every day. And I've made some really great friends working there and have really enjoyed the social aspect of farming, but also how difficult it is. And that makes it so rewarding to be able to put put food on people's plates in the Upper Valley in the area where I live, which is a really cool experience when you go into a grocery store and you see a head of lettuce that you cut and washed, packaged, and then put it on a truck to be sent to that grocery store. Uh, that's a really satisfying feeling, and yeah, it makes you feel great.
Well, Owen, we're proud to have you as a member of our teams and in our community, and certainly looking forward to hopefully right on time having you back next fall for your sophomore season. Owen Deffner, cross country track and field student athlete, thanks for joining us on lcpioneers.com live.
Thank you, Ryan. Have a great day.
Fun conversation. And I took the vegetable farming. The student athletes are very kind to fill out questionnaires and things with all the demands on their time as NCAA Division III student athletes. Um, I asked them these questions. What did you do in the last summer, and what are you looking forward to most? And when he brought up vegetable farming, it's like I got to ask you about that because I've never been one of the guys who likes to get his hands in the dirt and all the maintenance that it takes to have. Um, a really strong effort in the gardening world and to have him describe it not only just as a hobby, but to be able to distribute and see things that, can help feed. I thought that was a pretty cool aspect. So I appreciate Owen taking the time to share that with us. He's going to be a huge asset to the Pioneers team going forward in 2020, 21. Hopefully also going to be healthy too with his injuries as well. Um, we have a pretty big week next week. Didn't have a chance to update our graphics, so I'm just going to throw it on the screen. But we're planning to have Aaron Kong, Sammy Benbow, and alumnus Abby Broughton from women's rowing planning to join us next week. I'll talk to Aaron, rising senior with swimming, and get a feel for what she's looking forward to, kind of rounding out her career at Lewis and Clark. And she's been also incredibly active too with Lewis and Clark Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and just the different aspects of Lewis and Clark. So excited to talk to Erin and see, as an all conference performer. I mean, she's definitely a high caliber person, finishing top 7 in the rankings as a sophomore for the 200 breaststroke. She's definitely someone who's contributing to women's swimming. And then Sammy, the baseball season was cut short, but he was having a pretty strong start to the year. Him and Jack Thompson definitely leading the way offensively for the Pioneers. So we'll talk to Sammy about what's ahead as a rising junior for his team and his program. Actually, I say rising junior, rising senior. Wow, the summer is hitting me already. Seeing where he's going to be going in his final year with the Pioneers, and then Abby too, member of Lewis and Clark's Hall of Fame. With her women's rowing team that was inducted about 3 years back, just has stayed active in the rowing community. So we'll talk to her as well. We do invite you to go to LC Pioneers on Instagram. Check out our story. We've been sharing different things, including a recent statement, a message from the Northwest Conference regarding systemic racism and some of the protests that have been happening throughout the country and certainly in Portland. We've had different conversations, or at least the starts of conversations on the show, planning to have more certainly in the coming weeks. And then most importantly, too, trying to find a way that Lewis and Clark Athletics, I can help be a voice on the show of the actions that we will have to support our student athletes of color, student Black student athletes as well. And big thanks to everyone who's been communicating with me both on the show and offline as well. You can do the same at LC Pioneers on Twitter and Instagram, sports@lclark.edu, and in the comments on Facebook Live, but on our Instagram story too, some resources shared by our ASLC. They recently put out a letter talking about the actions that they're committing to and what they're looking for from the Lewis and Clark community, but also made a nice list of resources that I think can be useful. We link those at lcpioneers.com/BLM resources, and certainly encourage you to check those out as well. So hope your weekend goes as well as it can be. And we will talk to you again on Tuesday, our show Tuesday through Friday at 11:30 live on Facebook and on YouTube as well. I'm Ryan Goff. Thanks for having fun with us. Big thanks to Owen for joining us and you as well. We'll talk to you again soon for more lcpioneers.com live, live on Facebook and on YouTube as well. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.